Good evening and welcome to Going for Two. This is the only YouTube podcast in human recorded history to feature a male and female host drinking our way through the important topics of the day, as long as they touch the football world and not in that way, and that is a weird looking glass of beer you got there. I am Zach Law. This is Sharona.
It just has some nice head to it. Can you see the head? Yeah,
Don, Don, you better be watching now because Don's a big fan of.
I wish you could see down in there because it's here to me. It's like
it's frozen.
It is.
Okay. Like excitement. It is. It's like a slushy and it's beer. I mean, how can you lose?
There's nothing better. I like mine super chilled. So I should have asked Adam about how the Brits drink their beer, but I forgot. Anyway.
Seems like they drink it warmer, but I don't know.
They do. Yeah, they definitely do.
I remember a friend from England once saying that like Budweiser was actually a popular beer because it was actually an import. I'm like, oh god.
I
People
know, right?
are terrible. Plus, it's Belgium. It's not really American anymore. But it is a sad day, mainly because Game of Thrones is over for almost a year, and secondarily because we have lost Pat Summitt and Buddy Ryan.
Yes.
Because that happened like 15 seconds apart, according to Twitter, anyway.
Yeah, it was. Not a good day for the passing, or I guess it was a good day for the passing of sports legends. I didn't know, but Betty Ryan obviously was elderly. I didn't know that he had been ill. I didn't actually see what he passed from anyway, but you knew we were prepared for the Pat Summitt thing because we had been forewarned. And of course, she had been battling Alzheimer's for a while. But yeah, very sad. Extremely sad.
Yes, it is, and the thing about Pat Summitt, I also have to defer to the daughter of Tennessee, or at least someone who's lived there for a while. But it seems like the era of like the legendary coach maybe is passing in part because of our media, because everybody's got like, if there's something bad about a person, and even if it's benign, it's going to come out. Like the only coach I can think of now that's like, well, there aren't really that many warts is like Belichick, but still tons of people hate him, and he's got all the Spygate stuff. So never mind. So does anybody in the world hate Pat Summitt? Like even like rival coaches, I don't think.
Oh, Gino infamously, he ultimately did come out and offer condolences and all of that. Gino infamously dissed Pat on at least one, if not two or three occasions. And but that's Gino being Gino. And did he dislike her? I don't know. I think even if he did, he would grudgingly have to say he respected what she was able to accomplish.
Yeah, because I didn't know a lot about the history, but the school hired her as the coach at like age 22, and she even played in the Olympics like 2 years after that with a torn ACL that I don't even know if they had surgery back then. If they just put some ice on it and played through it and was coach and won a bunch of championships and all that. And when Tennessee like has an 8th seed in the tournament, that's like a horrible year for them.
Yeah, what she made college basketball, women's college basketball, and and I would argue that, I mean, the men's game was going to be popular too, but I think that she made the men's game better as well, because of that, because she did make women's college basketball what it is, that competition thing.
Well, was it at University of Tennessee that they actually had better crowds for women's versus men's? I mean, the men's teams fluctuate at Tennessee. Like, if they get to the tournament, that's a really good year. But the women's team just was constantly up there. For
consistently attendance is off the chains, off the charts for the Lady Vols, and not so much for the men's basketball team.
Men's Vols.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, we suffer through the Jerry Green, Buzz Peterson. I don't even remember the other yahoos, and so anyway. And they saw success, obviously, under Bruce Pearl, who
Oh gosh.
who
He's back.
compared Pat Summitt's basketball teams to the Yankees and the Cowboys. I don't have enough energy to eye roll enough over that. But they had success under him and some success under Quanzo Martin. Semi the 1 year under Donnie Tyndall, who just appealed his NCAA infractions, and now they've got Coach Barnes, and I think they'll be fine.
They'll be fine, but I don't know. There's really not a way to make comparison because Pat Summitt is almost like a Billie Jean King kind of figure.
Yeah.
It's like not very many sports where you're like, this one person made it popular. Like Babe Ruth made baseball really popular.
She built it, baby. I mean, she did. She built it, and and it's amazing to. I'll get choked up again. So Zach missed this part of the show this morning. I saved my Pat Summitt tribute and conversation to the very end of the show because I knew I would get emotional about it. And, just reading all the stories about the people that she impacted and the way she impacted them. And, every single player she coached graduated. Every single one. How amazing is that?
Yeah, there's some push. I can't remember. It was one of the former players, and the coach was like, "You're in trouble because like your roommate is causing trouble, and if something happens with her, you're out." And she had to. It's like you had to take care of your teammates, and it gave these players like this whole. You have to take care of other people. And now I think that former player is like a coach at Arizona or Kentucky. Yeah. I mean, they're everywhere. It wouldn't be a women's basketball professional league.
Her coaching tree is going to outrival anyone's. And we don't talk enough. Glad you brought that up. We don't talk enough about that. One of the things that I mentioned, and this is the last thing I'll say unless you want me to say something else, but one of the things that I talked about was, Pat Summitt could have coached the men's game and had opportunity to coach the men's game and turned it down because she cared about the women's game and she wanted to make sure that the women's game remained as popular and as important, as what it is. And it took me a while to realize that, to understand that, because I kept, for a while I was like, she needs to coach men's basketball. She needs to break that barrier. She needs to do that. But no, she really didn't need to do that. She needed to do, because she did care about the women's game and she needed to do what she did. And so it's amazing.
Yeah, that's one thing that's a little bit weird is there are plenty of men's coaches of women's teams, but no women's coaches of men's teams. Maybe there's some assistants. I know there was one assistant on the Spurs that made a big deal, but I don't know about.
There are three. There are three that I know of. Nancy Lieberman, Becky Hammond, and the other one escapes me. I can't remember her name. Becky Hammond actually coached, was the D-League coach, and did very well. So the times they are a-changing.
Yes, they are. Well, let's do a little Buddy Ryan talk, although I'll say my notes on Buddy Ryan were basically my Buddy Ryan memories, him punching Kevin Gilbride, the 85 Bears being kind of mediocre otherwise, and giving us the nonstop entertainment that is Rex and Rob. So, that's like you're giving, and the gifts keep on giving, especially with both Ryan's sons on the Bills this year.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be about all that's interesting about the team this year. But is that something to say? Like, I made this little comparison on Twitter, and I interrupted because I suck. But I was saying, like, a head coach like Tom Flores, who won 2 Super Bowls with the Raiders and lost another one, Nobody talks about him ever. But the one Super Bowl the Bears won, it's like they won 10. Buddy Ryan gets carried off the field. Mike Ditka gets carried off the field. And that pretty much same team could not get back to a Super Bowl. But just it's like you had that 1 year, and you sometimes get more attention than a sustained amount of success. And hey, being a head coach for a while in the NFL was good. And I got to see somebody posted it was like a 1987 game against the Cowboys, and well, you were a Cowboys fan once.
Yeah.
But I kind of have from Pittsburgh, a dislike of the Cowboys. They had like Randall Cunningham do a fake spike and throw the ball long when they're winning big late. And I was like, yeah, that's the kick you in the nuts kind of coach that he was. Unfortunately, he could never get it over the top with the Eagles, and the Cardinals too. I don't know. It didn't work out.
Yeah, what I said about Buddy Ryan, and this was kind of a thing on social media Monday. Today, I don't know, whatever day all this was going down, and people were like, you can't say Buddy Ryan was an ass because the man died, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, no, it's okay to say Buddy Ryan was an asshole. He was an asshole. That doesn't mean he's not a legend. That doesn't mean the contributions that he made to football are any less. It's okay to say. We tend to, because someone dies, we tend to want to whitewash. We saw this with David Bowie and some other rock stars who passed away, but who had some rather unsavory allegations lodged against them. Buddy Ryan was an ass, but he was a very good defensive-minded coach.
Yeah, it was kind of like Wade Phillips. I think defensive coordinator is probably a better place for him than head coach, but I don't know if he ever went back to being defensive coordinator. He was just a coach in a couple of teams, and then didn't work out. So it didn't work out.
Yeah, I don't know either. I didn't really. I didn't go out and look at his legacy, all that. I obviously knew who he was and a lot of the things that he had done, and that was enough.
He's wearing green, and that's kind of an Eagles color, and he coached the Eagles, so there you go. There's your connection. All set up.
There you go.
But we should talk about the biggest event of the year or week.
Yes.
Game of Thrones finale.
Yes.
It's over. We're sad.
Very sad.
But like satisfied, The second to last episode, which you watched them like back to back, right?
I did. Yes, and I watched them back to back.
The second to last episode, it seems like Game of Thrones isn't pulling those surprising deaths it did before. Like that second to last episode kind of went exactly like you thought it would, except I guess the creators like to pull the victory out of defeat card a little too often because they did it twice in that same episode. But you kind of knew like Jon Snow was going to win, even though he.
What did you? I didn't
really. He's like a bad coach with really good players, I guess, because
I thought so, and I thought
pulled audible and did the Hail Mary, and it worked.
I thought so, and I thought Littlefinger would show up and all of that, but I wasn't sure. And I was just praying that Ramsay would die in the most horrible way possible, and so that happened, and but yeah, it was I thought a very good way to set up excuse me, the finale, the final episode.
And of course, if they're gonna do like a spin-off, after the show ends, because sadly they're pulling the Mad Men, they're pulling the Breaking Bad, the whole like we're gonna have 7 episodes one year and 6 the next, and you have to wait a whole year between them. I think Lady Mormont's gonna be ruling the Iron Throne in about 10, 15 years, because the 8-year-old is telling. Because the whole Jon Snow, she was like, he's my king now. And they're like, okay, little girl, we're scared of you. It's awesome.
Well,
awesome.
She is very awesome.
Shaming like the way you shame me over beer. It's good.
You are a coward, and you, I was like.
By the way, time to, this is a new beer for me. Anytime I find a bomber that's relatively cheap, like this was $6, this is Ballast Point. They had a homebrew like competition, and one of the winners was Batch number 6, Robust Porter.
By the way, I'm drinking a big beer.
Yeah, that's I think the season 1 Game of Thrones, the Golden Ale or something.
It is the Iron Throne.
Which kind of
a
bitter. I didn't really
ale.
like it. I drank one earlier. I had like except for one.
They didn't
all
have
the Game of Thrones beers, and I drank them in like a 2-week period.
They didn't have the black stout. I would have gotten that, but they didn't have it.
This is nice, not bad.
That is very. Now, what is that? That's a dark. That's
Robust Porter, they say.
Oh, see, that's my kind of beer.
Pretty good. Got a little bit of that, a little bit of chocolate going on, but it's a nice, smooth, dark beer.
Did you notice
the dessert?
Did you notice that I was drinking Dragon's Milk Sunday night? And by the way, where were you? You who were like, well, now you got to live tweet the Game of Thrones and blah, 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 and then we're nowhere to be found.
I'm amazed at the amount of trouble I seem to get in with you. So 9 weeks of Game of Thrones, and I'm like, are you watching? Are you watching? No, I didn't watch it. And then like the last week of the season, you're like, where are you? And you're like sending me all caps tweets, and we were watching. I think we were watching
the finale.
Was it this week or last? We were watching like the OJ ESPN thing, and we were like on the last episode, so we were behind. Or maybe it might have been last week because we missed the whole NBA Finals thing. But anyway, we watched the episode, and I was like charging my phone, so I just left it and didn't even look at it. Didn't look at Twitter till the next morning, and then Sharona was like crying and screaming that I haven't,
You were supposed to be. You were supposed to be live tweeting with me. By the way, I hear that you watched Bill Simmons' new show.
I didn't watch very much of it. I don't know. Maybe I feel like nervous for him, but I didn't really get. Like, what was he trying to pull off? Like, he was wearing like a button-down shirt and some weird gray thing, and he's like, I am all casual, and throwing around curse words. And my wife watched a few minutes of it and was like, this is terrible. And I think some people actually liked it, but it was a little weird that like Charles Barkley was on there and you could see like his face sweating, and it wasn't live, it was recorded. So, but I don't know. I think all young men have their Bill Simmons phase, and I had mine for a while, but kind of like when he became really big and was like doing the Grantland stuff, I used to listen to his podcast and read his stuff, and then I just don't know what he's been doing the last 5 years. Like, I just haven't paid attention. Because I think there's a bit of a shtick there that, I don't know. I'm like, congratulations on your amazing success, get on HBO and all, but I don't know. There's just too much good entertainment out there. Now that Sharona's show's back, I got all these friends doing shows, and I like, why aren't you listening to my show? Like, all right, I'll do it. I'll try. I did my best, but I don't know. When I saw the promo, I was like, I
don't think that I don't know. Maybe things will get better and it'll improve. I never thought that he was very good on television. And I've listened to some of his podcasts. I think he's better at that, but I'm not hating on the success. I mean, I think that someone like him who can come from, being a fan blogger, that's good for all of us, right? For that to happen. So, but I did definitely think that he was trying to create a persona, and that always to me seems to come across a little bit. So anyway,
it does seem no matter what you do, if you're in media, you have to kind of create a persona, but the most successful people that I enjoy are just kind of like, all right, this is me, deal with it, and let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think some people are just personalities in their own right. I mean, and then when you go overboard, like Charles Barkley used to be funny, but now he's gone overboard, just like Shaq, I mean, and I think that you're right in that these brands seem to expect that, but I think the more genuine you are, the more And I was certainly an audience like me. The more an audience like me is more likely to tune in.
You heard that, everybody? Did you mark that down on your clocks? 20 minutes into this episode, Sharona said I was right. Shut it down. It's over. I've been waiting for, it's at least
let me. I want us to go back to Game of Thrones, but before we do,
Sure.
I want to ask you, because you did listen to most of my podcast. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So, what did you think for my first episode back? Besides the weird little echo thing.
I was a little afraid that I was like, oh no, Sharona's doing. I mean, yes, Sharona's back on, and she needs to be on. Her voice needs to be heard without me interrupting her all the time and just drinking beer and burping. Although I'm getting really good at muting when I'm burping. But I was only afraid, I'm like, oh, she's going to talk about all the stuff we want to talk about tonight. So I was like, oh, great, it's going to be good. But she even said my name. It's so cool.
I did. And
we were talking about freaking Brexit, going all international and talking about international economy. You're just not just a sports mind. There's a lot going on in that cabeza.
I thought that was a very great conversation with Adam, and I really enjoyed talking to Adam. And, it's fascinating to me to see, and I do intend to have more international guests on, and because I like to hear about, it does seem like England, Great Britain's politics and our politics sort of, there's some commonality there. Did you also hear me say, I praised you? I said you did a great job leading us.
I know. I lead mainly because Sharona lets me. But hey, I lead. I was like, go ahead, make a fool of yourself, and I'll pick you up. I'll reel you in. You'll fall into the well, and I'll get you out, maybe. Or I'll laugh at you before I do it. Ha, bottom of the well.
My nose is itching. Sorry, guys.
If you do go back to Game of Thrones, I think somebody said that the Game of Thrones now has reached the final four. So it's going to be in the semifinals, Cersei versus Mother of Dragons. And on the other side, it's going to be the Night King versus Jon Snow. Although I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of Sansa's propping Jon Snow up, and then, maybe Littlefinger tries an end run.
I don't know. I wouldn't rule out Sansa or Arya. Arya, whoa.
Yeah, it was nice to see those characters die. Although
I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Time's a little bit weird because I swear Jaime was at that dinner with the Frey king, and then 5 minutes later she killed him. But then he came back to Westeros like he had done his duty. Frey died and his sons were baked into pies. Is that poor dude who was who was forced to get married on the Red Wedding and was stuck in jail since then? Is he in charge again? It's Some of the minor kingdoms, you're like, all right, let's let this go. Dorne, I'm like, oh, who cares about Dorne? But at least they got, a nice little alliance going there.
They're determined to bring down Cersei. It's going to be, I'm very curious to see what happens.
And the dudes just aren't pulling off. It's all the ladies are holding sway.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys that are involved have had, a little bit of manhood adjustment.
So what did you think about how Sansa let Ramsay die?
I thought that was a pretty fitting ending. I was kind of glad, they've been kind of spinning their wheels with him. Alan Sepinwall, who I like to check out, was kind of tired of Ramsay. I think a lot of people were because he was kind of one just evil character. Not a lot of depth there, and it's okay, we're just gonna let him hold on to the North for a while until Jon Snow and Sansa and the rest of the Starks somehow miraculously will all be together at the end of the season. But I felt bad, when they held that whole Rickon, running thing, and everybody's run Serpentine, run Zigzag. I heard in the books he was actually 5 years old when that happened, and you could tell that he was just sprouting. He's bigger than Ramsay now. He was 15 or something. So, but some characters, it's like a game of chess. All right, well, they're second. Sorry, brother, you're dead. Just that was the price of doing business, and it was in one last okay. And it was a weird little showdown with Jon Snow. All right, we're gonna have a showdown. I'm gonna shoot arrows at you. because that's the way he played the game, and then he beat the crap out of him, which is nice. But he gave
Yeah.
Sansa the kill. That was very, brotherly, even though I don't think he's her brother even partially now. We've kind of found out the truth, right? The truth of Jon Snow.
No, his mother was a Stark.
But she was the one. I don't know. I get confused about the mythology. Too many characters.
She was Ned's sister, which would make Sansa Dany's aunt and Jon's cousin. No, yeah, it's very confusing. The Ned and Lyanna is Jon's mother. They were brother and sister.
Yeah, because they played off like it was Ned and some wench he knocked up, and then it turned out to be a different relation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it still have a couple. Yeah, Bron's got to come back. Arya's got to come back. I didn't know if she wants to, because going around being badass and killing people sounds like her thing.
She's become a very good assassin. She will return to Winterfell. There's no question in my mind that she.
Is there going to be a rematch, her and the Hound? Because the Hound's like hanging out somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think the Hound wants any part of Arya. I think that
I kind of forgot some like semi-minor characters kind of disappear. Like Bronn didn't get a lot of run, but it was fun. Him talking to Jaime about the women just falling over themselves for him, and he's like, Jaime's like, "Come on over, these two women," and Bronn's like, "I'm not interested." All right, fuck it. It's just very.
So
I think he may go down at some point, but it.
So since you brought Jaime up, there was a very interesting visual exchange between Jaime and Cersei at the end of that episode when she was sitting on the throne. What did you make of that? And then my next question would be, what do you think how do you think he feels about Brienne?
It's a good question, because Brienne kind of disappeared the last few episodes. I was thinking, well, the whole Jaime Cersei thing, like them getting caught and throwing Bronn out the window, got a lot of this rolling. And he's already had to kill one king. Is he going to have to do the same with her? And they have a little bit of a power thing going. Remember how he raped her after Joffrey was dead? Mm-hmm. And I don't think they've had whatever they had before again. And so, yeah, Cersei's obviously made a turn. What do you think of that? Because, like, Cersei, it was all about love the kids, and then, like, her third kid threw himself out the window. She's like, yeah, burn him and throw him in with the rest of the people I burned to death. Because he means nothing to me. Okay, all right then. Yeah, accepted her fate, I guess, because she was told their kids were going to die, and she's like, oh, okay, they're dead now. I'm just going to be badass and
get
my revenge.
Yeah, I had actually forgotten about that prophecy. Wow. Their kids were really. Marcella was okay, but
Marcella was okay.
Joffrey and Tommen both were not fit to be kings.
I'll have to ask when I see Dawn this weekend. Like, Dawn, I know you've never seen Game of Thrones, but what do you think about wine waterboarding? Because that's what she was doing in that episode with that one, was it the nun who was tormenting her earlier?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, wine waterboarding now. Is she using the good stuff or, like the $2 chuck? But
yeah, there was, I mean, the image of her, in the beginning and the dress, and you didn't really get it to see the real effect of the dress until later, but she's drinking the wine, and I mean, you knew something major was about to go down, right? And Marjorie was the only smart one out of the whole bunch, but still they all died.
Yeah, Marjorie was one that you're like, all right, she's playing the game, she's gonna pull it off, and then she just wasn't able to get out, and it's too bad because she was like manipulating 2-3 kings, and then it was like, oh, that whole line is dead. Okay, never mind.
Well, Grandmam isn't.
Yeah, she's there. So she's got the revenge. She's wearing the black. Get some use out of Dorn because Dorn's kind of boring. I heard Dorn was better in the books, but I hear these rumors of the books, and I read the first one, and it was exactly the same as season 1. I'm like, each book is 1,000 pages, and I just think it's a lot.
I've read them all, and
It's hard.
yeah, Dorn is definitely more fleshed out in the books, and you know a lot more about whatever his name is, the one who got killed because um, the chick thought that he was a weak ruler. He had medical condition. His legs swelled and everything. And if there's a new book, I need to check, I guess, and see if the latest book has come out.
Like
I don't have
George
it.
R. R. Martin has been waiting for that to finish that last book for a few years. I think he's been missing some deadlines. I mean, the guy's older. I don't know if that's a factor. Just
Well,
how popular is. I mean, his books were bestsellers, but then to become like the HBO flagship show, and it's like they're diverting, but still the whole Ramsay Bolton, that fight was in the book, right?
Yeah, I don't remember. I need to go back
Like
and
parts of what happened were the book, but other stuff diverged. And
yeah. I need to go
I
back
think
and
they've just taken it over. Like the showrunners are like, all right, this is our show now.
the books were hard to read. I need to go back and reread them. Like I got through the Harry Potter series, and I've reread it. I'm maybe on my third or fourth rereading of the Harry Potter series.
Damn.
That is a sign of a good book to me. I will reread it to get the things that I missed.
Yeah, my wife gets pissed at me when I reread a book. She gets just like, why are you reading that again? You already read it. I'm like, there are a few. But the Harry Potter books, like, book 1 was like 300 pages, and then the last book was like 800. But the first book of Game of Thrones is 1,000 pages, and I'm pretty sure the rest are the same.
It's tough reading, but I enjoyed it.
And it's really small print, too.
There's a lot of detail in the books, and you do tend to get bogged down in that, but in a way it does lend more color and character to to the whole scenery and everything. So
well, okay, so I heard that we talked about it a little bit, that you're no longer going fake live on Backtalk. So does that mean you're no longer faking it anymore? Congratulations.
I know, right? You guys can never tell.
What's the difference?
Well, see, here's the thing. We went to a recording format because we're having some really terrible audio issues, but that put like triple the amount of work on me to produce the show, and it was just so time consuming, and I wanted to have a quality product, but it was so time consuming that I was exhausted and burned out by the time I went on hiatus, because it just consumed your world. When you do a true live format, you don't have to. It's immediate, and it's much less time intensive. You're not tripling the amount of work that you do, and despite that weird little echo that you could hear, which I really think was because I had my phone. But I wanted to make sure that the audio, I want to be able to know that my audio was working. But this next time I'll do something a little bit different. So, yeah, live, not fake live.
So can you walk me through the trade that the Nashville Predators made today? Since I stopped caring about hockey after the Stanley Cup, and we'll start caring again next year around round 2 of the playoffs.
I know you got your cup.
I got my cup, and I got my cup. My parents actually were in Pittsburgh, like the weekend after they won the cup, and I think they got me a shirt. So I'll have a Stanley Cup shirt. Woo!
Yeah, it was a contract for contract trade between Montreal and the Nashville Predators. Shea Weber, longtime Nashville
Nashville.
Predator team
Beer's good.
captain. Yeah, I know, right? Um, Fan favorite, just a guy that who has really sort of been the face of the Nashville Predators for a long, long time, and but his he's getting on up there. I don't remember how old he is. There were people who thought that his play had declined, not significantly, but slipped just a midge, just a little midge, and he wasn't all that effective. He was okay in the playoffs. It's just he was okay in the playoffs, and so PK Subban is a young player. He is a guy with a personality that is larger than life, and that didn't particularly play well with the ownership for the Montreal team. And the fans loved him, and the city loved him, and so they did a contract for contract trade. And I don't know enough about NHL salary cap jargon to interpret, but if Shea Weber does retire early, Nashville could see some penalties associated with that, and they are knocking against their salary cap. But they got a great young player, and he's going to fit in so well in their scheme, and he's going to be fun to watch. He's going to be fun. He's going to be like the Keith Bullock of the Nashville Predators.
Yeah, I was wondering because you said like that Subban, is that his name? He had an outsized personality. I'm like, well, so this is the anti Mariota, who's just like play it as it comes.
Yeah.
But I figured, mentioning Mariota, I was just thinking, and I've been since he and Jameis Winston, had such great rookie years. I was wondering, like, when they get up for their second contract, assuming no weird injury issues, what kind of money they're going to get? Because today, Andrew Luck signed a 6-year, $140 million contract extension with the Colts, which, of course, we had to get the beat out of us as football fans. It don't mean shit, those numbers. It means how much did he get up front? And this is a little lawyerese, I think. Maybe Sharona can chime in here. But I heard that $60 million was guaranteed, and then it was like, well, $44 million is like guaranteed, and $60 million is guaranteed, like agent language version of guaranteed. It's like they have this injury guarantee thing. But anyway,
let me look it up.
He kind of struggled last year, but you really can't blame the Colts for.
Well, I mean, look at what.
Because you're kind of paying him based on what he's going to do, and what he
has done. Yeah, I mean, look at what fairly mediocre quarterbacks are getting. I mean,
last year.
Let's see.
It was kind of amazing, like Russell Wilson. And like Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning, all these guys signed almost the same contract, like 4 years, $84 million. And you do notice that like elite NFL players are starting to be like NBA guys. They're signing like shorter contracts so that they can get another contract because Luck's young enough that he can probably get one more. But I feel like the Colts. I'm annoyed at Colts fans because like they had Peyton Manning, sucked for a year, and they got Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
But I feel like they built the team around Peyton a lot better than they built the team around Andrew Luck. Like their team has been built on like duct tape and baling wire. And we'll see. We'll see because this is his year. He's got to they had a little bit of a step back last year. But he is playing the AFC South, which is kind of like the Sun Belt. So I think he'll be okay.
$32 million signing bonus, which is fully guaranteed. $87 million in guarantees. It comes from the uncertainty comes from the fact that a lot of the guarantees are roster bonuses. He's certainly going to be on. I don't know whether these are guaranteed for injury or not. It doesn't say in here. I'd have to look that up. So he's certainly going to be on their roster through 2017. It starts to get tricky in 2018. Well, probably 2018. It starts to get it starts to get tricky in 2018 because it's a $12 million salary plus a $6 million roster bonus. But 2019, it bumps up to $12 million roster bonus and a $9 million salary. So, yeah. So probably about the 44 million comes from the fact that he's definitely going to be on the roster next year, right? So the 32 million signing bonuses are guaranteed, and then you've got the salary that would be guaranteed. So that's probably what it is.
But it's a good contract, and he had a nice comeback to beat the Titans, although his bad play was the reason why the Titans were winning. That's something that's never really spoken about when quarterback comebacks. Like, well, maybe they sucked the first 3 quarters, kind of like the Tebow era. But
well, I mean, it's kind of like that's kind of a luck
Titans
thing because that happened against the Patriots and the Chiefs, and his infamous playoff struggles. The 4-pick game was that 2 years ago?
Well, they moved up every year, and then 2 years ago they got to the championship game, but the Patriots just blasted them.
I'm talking about the 4-interception game where he threw
I think he might have had that weird Chiefs game where they had that crazy comeback. Like he struggled early, and then they came on strong at the end. Poor Alex Smith and poor Chiefs, because they did end their playoff streak last year. So yay them. But we'll see how it goes, because it's pretty much go through New England to win the AFC right now. Although the Steelers have made a transition. They were a defensive team, and now they're an offensive team.
I saw a Texan writer with a straight face.
More.
I think.
What do you think? More? Yes.
Yes. Right, that the Houston Texans were the team to beat in the AFC South, and I literally fell out of my chair laughing.
I mean, they were able to win the division like pretty much without a quarterback last year, and even like without a running back. They had like Alfred Blue when Aaron Foster got hurt. It's an interesting little tidbit that like Lamar Miller just destroyed the Texans at one half, where he had like 170 rushing yards, and then they just gave him the freaking bag. I mean, running back money's not that tough. It's like Lamar Miller signed like a 4-year, $26 million contract, and that's kind of high for running back. That's like a year and a half of Andrew Luck now. Actually, a year of Andrew Luck. So.
That's a total Titan. That's totally a Titans move to do, because they used to do that. Who was that? There was a Jaguars running back, a couple of Jaguars running backs that ran all over them, and they I'm bad on names. So yeah, but I mean that the Texans would crown themselves like that when they ain't really done shit ever. It's just totally a Houston Texan thing.
I mean, it's still those like flashbacks of the last 2 weeks of the seasons of the Titans getting beat by like 4th and 5th string quarterbacks by the Texans and the Colts to end the season. Just like, wow, we got a long way to go. But I was just thinking, like, building the team around Luck, like, they've got some nice receivers, but they have, like, Frank Gore's 33. Like, running backs who are 30, people are like, wow, that's old. Frank Gore's 33, and they have nothing behind him.
Yeah.
And their offensive line has pretty much consistently sucked, and they don't have really anything on defense that's that good. When they had Peyton Manning, they had, like, Dwight Freeney, and he was coming after guys. And Bob Sanders was good for a couple years.
Yeah.
Their defense was – and now it's like I don't know, that Grigson guy, I don't really get why he still has a job.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Arians was the best thing they had, and they let him go. So we'll see about the exciting AFC South. But we have a fun Titans story to discuss. Sharona will have a special interest in this. This is the annual "Will Justin Hunter get it this year" article that I saw today. Apparently, it sounded like from the story, it didn't say it directly, but it sounded like he didn't pass like his conditioning test, and he's like the fifth string guy now, and it's his last year of his rookie deal. I wonder if they're done with him. I mean, he has had like injury issues. He's been knocked out the last 2 years.
He's had
But
conditioning.
he's never been close to what he was before he tore his ACL in college.
No, ever.
And the Titans traded up to get him. Yay!
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. I said, even before the draft that Justin Hunter. First of all, I expected that the Titans would, at some point in the draft, get a wide receiver, which they did, and it sounds like he's doing well. I said even before that happened, though, that his roster spot could be in jeopardy, and there's going to be another round of free agency, another round of cuts. He really needs, a big training camp, but conditioning has always been an issue for him. Always.
not so good.
That's how he got injured, like his rookie season. His conditioning wasn't all that good. I think he pulled a hammy, something, and it's been just one thing after the other. And and it's unfortunate. He's a guy with a tremendous amount of talent who just doesn't get it.
Well, an article I read, and this is a little fantasy tidbit, is that like wide receivers getting so deep in the NFL, like wide receivers, it's just hard for rookies to get in because the depth charts are just so full. And even the Titans have it seems like their deepest wide receiver core since like maybe the Derek Mason, Drew Bennett days. Remember those?
Yeah.
Because Rashard Matthews, nobody really knows who he is, but he actually had a really good year with the Dolphins and their quarterback who throws about as well downfield as Mariota does, but otherwise is good. And we have Kendall Wright. Not quite sure what they have in mind for him because he's in like his fifth year and he's going to play the slot. I mean, Kendall Wright was like a 9th round fantasy pick, and the last draft I saw he was like 16th, so he's really falling. Dorial Green-Beckham is behind Taj Sharp now, so it's hard to say what he's going to be. But those guys are all above Hunter, and then they have Trey McBride, who was taken out of William & Mary last year. Everybody liked him. They have a couple other, back of the roster types, but it's really a deep spot. And Will Justin Hunter, who was, a star in college, sort of, and a star before then, will he be able to make it as that last guy and a special teams kind of guy?
Well, he doesn't play. He doesn't really play special teams. He got in trouble for that too, and so it's really unfortunate. It would not shock me at all if he doesn't make the roster.
I mean, there are going to be some really good guys making it through waivers.
Dorial Beckham-Green was a project. He was always going to be a project, which is why the Titans were so stupid to not go with their board, to jump up, to panic. That was totally a panic move. They had him as a 3rd round talent. He would have been perfect there. They panicked. They thought somebody else was going to take him. I think Russell Webster got okey-doked way too often, and
well, they traded up for Hunter. They actually traded down for the pick that they got, Green Beckham, but they did get him 10th pick of the 2nd round. I mean, the 2nd round, it does seem like where teams take a chance on athletic specimen types like Chris Henry.
Yeah,
that's a bad example of that. But you do get some stars there.
But he's totally a project.
It's really, really tough. I mean,
he's totally a project. He was never going to be. He was never going to be productive until his 3rd year, ever. And so if you're expecting him, he might start producing. I mean, he hasn't played that much football, people. I mean, he just hasn't. He might start producing some the second half of this next season, but do not look for him to even remotely be productive until his 3rd year.
Yeah, the scary part is Dorial Green Beckham's rookie year looked a lot like Justin Hunter's rookie year, where they were really looking to him in the red zone because he was just a tall guy, and he is big. He's got like the Calvin Johnson body. He's not quite Calvin Johnson fast or good, but it's one of those picks that gets you excited. But the problem with the NFL is you don't develop guys really in the NFL. It's like you either have it or you don't. And they're going to throw the jag on him just like they did with Justin Hunter, and those guys will be out of the league in 3 years, quite possibly.
That guy's gone, so I don't think that's going to happen.
You made a comment about the Daily Show on your show.
Oh, yeah.
We're just going to do the highlights of your show here. You should still listen to it. But the funny thing is you made a comment about the Daily Show, and I was like, is that still on? Like, are their ratings like a tenth of what they used to be? Because
it's not going to be on.
I haven't watched a minute of that show since Jon Stewart left.
It's not going to be on much longer.
Even the little clips that are on the internet, I don't even watch those.
It's not going to be on much longer. The people who left after Jon Stewart announced they have gone on to host their own show. Samantha Bee has a show. It's very good.
That's one worth watching. Yeah.
Jessica Williams is leaving. She's going to have her own Comedy Central, and the other guy has his own late night show. And what's left is nothing worth paying any attention to.
So it was a nice window while it lasted, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, they made the wrong hire. I kept saying they were making the wrong hire. They made the wrong hire, and the show it has maybe a year left, if that.
Well, I heard Trevor Noah on NPR, and I was like, I like his story, but when they did his comedy, I was like, this isn't funny. Like, Jon Stewart was funny before. He may have done an Adam Sandler movie or two, and maybe his acting chops aren't up to, but that was his role.
He was very good at his speaking of creating a persona, however you want to pronounce it, Jon Stewart was successful at it and was very good at it. Just like John Oliver, just like Stephen Colbert, who he's not very good anymore either, but now he.
Yeah, once although initially when I heard the Colbert Report, because I knew he was playing a character, I didn't really get into it, but I did enjoy it toward the end, and I had no idea the late night shows.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll see a clip from time to time, and that's good for the internet and all, but it's not my thing.
Yeah. Anyway.
But I do want to tell you
Rest in peace, Daily Show.
What the real thing is.
What's the real thing?
Scott Fishbowl 480 is coming up. Possibly, I'm pretty sure I can go on a limb and say biggest fantasy football league in world history.
World history.
So last year, I made the mistake of thinking I can interview all 360 people in this thing, and I got through about 100 or so before it was over. Well, this year, Sal Stefanel, 2QBFFB on Twitter, on his site, is hosting the interview series. So those are going to start coming out actually on Friday. I thought they were going to come out on Monday. We have not reached out to everybody who's in the league. So if you are in Scott Fishbowl and want to be interviewed, reach out to me, reach out to Sal, email, whatever, and we'll get you there. And I'd say we'll make you famous, but it's about as famous as you are now. But the interview questions will return. And the scarier part is the actual drafts will return on July 11th, which is just insane early to do a draft, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, like I drafted
waivers. So
I drafted Jordy Nelson, and then 2 weeks later he tore his ACL.
I know, it's like he injured himself pretty early too.
It was awful.
Kelvin Benjamin was an early guy who got hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's fun, and I have the number 2 pick in my league. I'm after Liz Loza. Hi, Liz. This is big time now. Yahoo! But the number 2 pick in this kind of league, I'm not sure what to do. Because 2 years ago, I went quarterback early and flamed out. Last year, I waited on quarterback and actually made the playoffs, the confusing playoffs that only Scott understands because there's just so many layers. So I'm not sure because in this league, running backs get 1/4 of a point for carry, so running backs have a high value. So
I just kept setting my roster until it wouldn't let me again.
What? You broke your roster?
No, I kept setting it because it was weird. It was kind of hard to figure out, and so I made the playoffs. But then it was like sets, and so I just kept setting my roster until it was like no roster this week. Okay.
Well, what I like about Scott Fishbowl is the rosters are deep. I mean, 22 players.
Very.
And you do not have a defense or a kicker. Thank you, Scott. And you have a ton of flex spots. Like it's 1 quarterback, I think 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, and then it's like 4 or 5 flex spots because you have 11 starters. So you can start like up to 7 receivers. You can start up to 6 running backs, 3 or 4 tight ends, and of course the quarterback flex, which changes everything. So quarterback is deeper than it's ever been in fantasy football history. Like you can get the 25th guy and go, oh, I can start him every week. Like I've just started, TJ Hernandez is doing some mock drafts. So I'm in one. And the 2 drafts I did, quarterback gone by like the 10th round. Like I waited in one league to like the 12th round and I got Jared Goff as my number 1 quarterback.
Ooh.
And Mark Sanchez is my backup. So in the second one, I got like Russell Wilson in the second. I got Blaine Gabbert and Jared Goff like in the 8th and 9th round. Like quarterbacks just were gone in a hurry. So that's a little bit like the quarterbacks go up, so other positions drop, so you get pretty good values. But you really can have your own way, and it's tough now because there aren't that many running backs anymore who get a lot of carries. So those big carry guys get more value because now it's like, oh, the PPR running backs, the Charles Sims types, the Riddick types are really valuable. But in this league, it's the guys who get the most carries. And of course, quarterbacks who run the ball are valuable too. But I think, yes, it's the massive humanity. I think we've only sent like interview requests out to maybe 80 people so far, and we've had a few other requests, but it should be good, and it's much nicer to have somebody write it on their own site. So basically, I'm like, hey, let me send you some questions, and you do the rest, so it's all good.
So that is cool.
That's right, because otherwise I've done like a couple of beer articles in the last month. That's been about it.
I started an article that's called Stick to Sports Sharona. And I have not had a chance to finish it, but I'm hoping to. I did my return podcast. I'm hoping to do a return article. Here's one for you. I don't even think that I've told you. I know I haven't told you this, or I don't think I've told anybody this. So you guys know I took a hiatus and was not even on the internet, on social media, or whatever. And so I went to this article had been percolating, and I went to pull my website up to work on it, and my domain had expired. So I was like scrambling.
Ooh.
So, but it's fine. We got it fixed and everything. But I was like, oh, whoa.
That's a good thing is my wife has like all these domains and they just automatically renew every year. And I'm like, oh, good. Don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, mine are all now auto renewed too. So.
Yeah, you did. I mean, we're kind of at the hour, but you did mention the whole sports writers and politics and how I don't even really think it's an option anymore to pretend it doesn't exist and there's not like an intersection between the two.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have that head in your sand, ex-Titans guy writing an article about Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
You sent that to me, and that was just horrible. Was it Jeff Diamond, right?
It's Jeff Diamond. I had that on my list maybe to talk about on the podcast and didn't get to it.
Talk about everything.
As someone who's firmly in the Adrian Peterson doesn't get it camp, I read that. Listen, training camp's awful. nobody likes training camp, and I don't know. I mean, a lot of players, when they go to retire, they say, the training camp grind, I just, my body couldn't do it anymore. I mean, it's a legitimate thing. It's a thing. And it was shocking to me to.
Yeah, based on all the other stuff that's happened with Adrian Peterson, like the charity issues and the kid abuse issues, and him saying he didn't want to do training camp was like, that's all? This is an excuse for you just to rehash the stuff we already know about him?
Yeah.
Okay, some people have to come up with a column idea like, crap, what do I have? I got nothing.
Right.
Crap. I'm an ex-NFL front office guy, so I have a free job for the next few years. You got to be able to earn it. Are you scratching your back there with like a ruler?
Yes, I've got a back scratcher. And
this is what happens when it's live. I haven't seen like a peep of a kitty in like weeks.
No kitties in the room tonight. I gave them lots of treats. Iggy has her big girl voice now and sings and talks to you all the time. And if I don't have an alarm, sometimes I don't need it because she's outside my bedroom door. She just chitter chatters, and just and she's gotten to where she's not as skittish as she used to be. Still a little bit, but she's a lot better. And Bandit and Smokey are doing fine. They just don't. I was sitting here. It was probably about an hour and a half or so before the show started, and they were in here. They're usually in here in the evenings, and I heard one of them like fooling with something he wasn't supposed to fool with, like underneath my seat, my chair, my feet. And I was like, which one are you and what are you doing that you're not supposed to do? And I was immediately like, I didn't even need to ask that question because I know it's Bandit. And it was Bandit.
Well named.
Mm-hmm.
Well, seeing as we're getting toward the end, so
Yes.
Where can the folks find you?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Sports by Sharona, which is really the only social media thing that you should follow because I don't ever check Facebook. And my Instagram's still locked down, I think. You can't, unless I approve you can't. And I'm not on Instagram very much. And I have Snapchat, but I don't use it because get off my lawn. And so, yeah, Sports by Sharona. Website, sportsbysharona.com or Backtalk with Sharona.com. The show, the podcast, Back Talk with Sharona. We're back. We're real. We're
talking.
Back.
We're back. Well, there is the whole Zach Law Online, although I haven't posted in maybe a beer article every couple of weeks about where I am right now, but Zach_Law, because I like to retweet all the best and brightest I hear in the sports world. Try to retweet Sharona because, she's got skills.
Mm-hmm. We don't know what they are, but she's got some.
So I'm going to look into seeing who on the Scott Fishbowl roster I can get on for next week's show so we can kind of talk about that because it's going to get started. It's going to get heated. Football's about to happen.
I'm very excited.
The day that the Scott Fishbowl starts is 2 months before the NFL season. So there you go.
There you
go. It's happening, whether you like it or not. So thank you, Sharona, for the duo show tonight, and it's been a lot of fun. And Don, you suck. And
hi, Don.
Kiss my grits.
Kiss our grits.